And one, thank you very much for coming to Stone Soup tonight. This is the first of our features for the rest of March. We have some amazing people lined up. And the first of them is coming on just after the open mic. Thanks to everyone for their patience. If you've just come in now and this is your first time at Stone Soup, there are people here who are the designated regulars. But if this is your first, I know who you usually reads, but if you're new here and you're interested in reading on the open mic, just let me know in the chat and I'll quietly put you. Otherwise, I'll assume you're here to listen. Our feature tonight, you can do your virtual Zen clap, the sound of one hand clapping 30, 40 times for Mr. Timothy Gager, who is officially the pioneer out of all of us who are doing the poetry thing. He started his, or I should say rebooted his Dire Literary series, um, which he had retired as a live event, believe 1 year prior, to much sadness, but then to much rejoicing, he brought it back, and it's one of the hottest reading venues out there now that I know of in Boston and in the virtual world, featuring both poets and fiction writers from abroad. So we are, and that happens, has been happening every Friday night from, I believe, 7 to 9. And on top of all that, he kept busy enough and kept himself engaged enough in what was going on last year to put together a brand new book, a poetry book entitled, appropriately enough, 2020. And Tim, I believe you have a special deal for us. We'll let you explain that.
Yeah, special deal. So if you're here tonight and you would like to purchase 2020, it's at the regular price and $2 shipping, but I have a whole bunch of books in my back catalog. So if you buy this one, the second book you buy will be half price, and then there'll be no shipping on both books. The third book will be like a quarter price, etc., all the way down the line. So if you want to buy my whole catalog, it'll be pretty cheap.
Understood. That's great. And how much is the book normally? Just the book by itself for someone who's been buying your books
It's
faithfully?
$15
Fifteen
plus $2
dollars.
shipping.
And where do you have a Venmo account where we can send that to, or
I
PayPal?
have a Venmo. I'll put it in the chat. It's at Timothy underscore Gager for the Venmo, and the PayPal is ctgager37 at yahoo.com.
Very good. We'll be posting that later on as well. And people are encouraged, if you don't want to buy a book, if you're so inclined and entertained tonight, as I hope you will be, you can directly send a donation of a few dollars towards Tim's way for his troubles and his time with us tonight. Tim has been an ardent supporter of the poetry scene and a multiple feature at Stone Soup, which makes me very glad and very grateful. And I've been looking forward to every new release of his book and the 2021. I actually have on Kindle, but I'll be buying a print version later tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. Some of us actually buy the books every time they go out. You deal making bastard. Anyway, let's enough of me. Enough of me and my improv. We have an open mic. We have people who've been waiting very patiently. So let's get this show on the road and introduce our first participant, who's been a newbie to Stone Soup, but an ardent regular as so long as the open mic online version is around. I'm going to do my best to make sure it's around for the foreseeable future, even after we get back into museums and other places again, which is starting to look at least a little more likely before the end of the year. Let us hope. I hope you all guys are all getting your vaccinations and recovering nicely. My girlfriend actually just got something from Johnson & Johnson as a teacher, so hoping for all you guys, hoping you guys can get moved up in line as quickly as possible. This person coming up next is a poet and novelist. He also has a book out on Kindle as well as other books available on his website, and he's featured this past year. He's featured this year online at Stone Soup. Let's welcome John Wezick. Whoops, I muted you by accident.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you, Chad. Here's one called "At the Corner of Midnight Crisis and Broken Dream Boulevard." I am not my job today, yet this business becomes my life, consuming my final precious hours. Corporations rape me, then demand I smile when they button their trousers. The sun set on youth and opportunity hours ago. Night came hard and fast, giving no warning. I find no shelter, so I remain trapped on this boulevard, laid bare to the pimps and whores who ogle me with dollar bill eyes. My muscles strain to move through viscous air, thick as maple syrup with heat and humidity. The local tough wears a sleeveless shirt. It reveals weightlifter arms, arms that threaten to crush me if I don't pay $11 rent for standing on his corner. I hand over a 20 and wonder how I'll survive tomorrow on $9 change. I lean against a brick wall that tears my shirt and scrapes tender skin from my back. Scam artists congregate, drawn by the smell of blood. Dreams flicker fainter and further apart like violet light from the burnt out fluorescent bulb. I hear its bulb and buzz and the sound of glass breaking far away. A guy in the alley sings something in Spanish. It is 11:59 p.m. Thanks.
I'm just reminding everyone to mute your phones if you haven't already. A couple people are still not muted. I know Carol can't, but she's as quiet as a mouse. So make sure your phones are muted during the open mic. And you'll also notice in the chat that Timothy put his Venmo and PayPal links. Write those down later on. I'll share them later on tomorrow. Let us go bring up next on the open mic. Jan Rowe, are you available, ma'am? Whoops.
Writing group. Legal work. I didn't write anything last 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So you're out. All right. Then it gives me great trepidation to bring up next. I never know what he's going to do any given week. And he already knows I'm talking about him. Let's bring up Mr. Yeah, of course he is. He's shaking his head. Let's bring up Bill Lewis.
Lordy. The things I have to put up with. Why? What is it about me that drives? Here I'm trying to do beautiful artistic work to make you happy and fill your life with joy and excitement. And heavens to Murgatroyd. The COVID thing, it's coming to the end. It's holy schmoly. And I'm seeing people blossoming. I'm so excited. More and more people just really getting out there and striving and doing stuff. I'm teaching computer science over Zoom, and the kids are doing so well. And just, oh man, I'm just jumping up and down and cheering all the time. And if I knew more mathematics, I would be so much better at what I do. But you can't do everything. So computers, I'm obsessed with computers, not because they are magical, but I mean, they're like magical machines. And you all are familiar with our devices. And so I did not compose anything by my own self today, but rather a beautiful piece that you might, one of the more famous computer science pieces. La 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 la. If a packet hits the pocket on a socket on a port, and the bus is interrupted at the very last resort, and the address of the memory makes your floppy disk abort, then the socket packet pocket has an error to report. If your cursor finds a menu item followed by a dash, and the double-clicking icons put your window in the trash, and your data is corrupted because the index doesn't match, then your situation's hopeless because your system's gonna crash. If the label on your cable on the table on your house with the network is connected to the button on your mouse, but your packets went to tunnel on another protocol that's repeatedly rejected by the printer down the hall, and the screen is all distorted by the side effects of Gauss, so your icons in the windows are wavy as a souse, then you may as well reboot and go out with a bang, because sure as I'm a poet, this sucker is gonna hang. When the copy of your floppy is getting sloppy on the disk, and the microcode instructions cause unnecessary risk, then you have to flash your memory. You want to RAM your ROM. Quickly turn off your computer and be sure to tell your mom. Gene Ziegler, computer science extraordinaire.
Thank you very much, Bill. And now let's move on to a little musical interlude. You heard him during the pre-show. Let's bring up now Mr. Ethan Mackler. Who hopefully will be unmuted soon.
All right. Okay.
There we go.
All right. I would like to say a few lines of, hold on. This is Daylight and Moonlight by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And the poet's song again passed like music through my brain. Night interpreted to me all its grace and mystery.
Hey.
Thanks, Chad. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mackler. Let's move on to one of our phone guests tonight. We're going to take a caller. And I'm going to unmute Miss Carol Weston, who's been our regular comer since the very start of Stone Soup Online, when we performed did an all open mic for our 49th anniversary. Our 50th is coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out what that looks like in the next couple of weeks or even the next couple of days. For now, let's bring up one of our star open micers, Miss Carol Weston. Carol, you're on. They can hear you. Carol? Uh-oh. Wait a second. Carol, are you there? Carol, are you there? Okay, I'm going to figure out what's going on. Oh, I see what's going on. Carol, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, excellent. You are up.
I am.
Yes.
Oh, well, just a minute. I am half dog. I wag my tail in spirit. Instant. This instant is the space over the candle flame where no flame shows, and everything that enters here turns into ashes. Aster at dawn on the rock hill of the woods above the ocean. Belinda Parker Crane. she raised her arms, spread them apart, and slowly drew them to her sides. Then she sank down with one foot against the rock and one knee bent. She arched her body upward, face raised. It was to the sun, under the sun. In love of the sun, she stretched her body, her being. Then she stood up in her own strength, like a young tree. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Great work, Carol.
Should be able to hear us now with no problems for the rest of the call. As we go over to our next participant on the open mic, a regular here, not just at Stone Soup, but on Oddball Magazine, where his photography appears on a usually every 2-week basis because we need him that bad and he's that good. You can actually see if you're on video, you can actually see the background of one of his most recently used photos for the magazine. Let's welcome up Mr. Ed Galt.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to show you my newest souvenir from this morning. It's my vaccination card. Just got vaccinated this morning for my first shot. So kind of psyched about that. Yeah. One down, 2 to go. Oh, 1 to go. Okay. Now, this one is called Childhood Window. Thought I'd go with something a little light tonight. I think I went with something heavy last week, so I'll go with something a little light tonight. Called Childhood Window. In my room, there floated a balloon just inside the door from the circus the day before. In the windowsill, there grew a bean plant from a milk carton that we planted in school. Through the window, I could see the swing set and the apple tree in the center of the yard. There was this huge tractor tire that my father and I got from the auto shop and painted blue. It was my sandbox. There was a white doghouse too. In the very back of the yard was my digging hole to make mud pies, to bury treasure, or to go to China. So when school was out, I would rush home and continue my adventures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galt. Thank you very much. And now let's go take another caller. We're going to take another caller now. It used to happen on Oprah and Donahue all the time. Taking a caller now. Okay. Miss Nancy Dodson. All you have to do is press *6 on your end. And yes, welcome, Nancy. It's your turn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Joy. Joy means love. Riverbeds overflow with water. The sun sparkles with no melancholy. Pleasure stimulates joy. Joy is the buoyancy of life. My spirit has joy, and its currents abide within. Communicate life, respond to love. Unconquerable gladness dwells within you. Joy.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And now we have our second to last person on the open mic. Let's welcome up Mr. John Stickney.
There we go. Hey. I was thinking about Lawrence Fairlin Getty, and I told this story once before. one of the reasons I'm a poet is because of Lawrence Ferrell Getty. When I was in high school, I cut class to go downtown in Cleveland and for the first May Day celebration. And Lawrence Ferrell Getty spoke in one of the cathedrals downtown across the street from Cleveland State University, and read from Coney Island of the Mind and on his second collection, whose name escapes me. And I thought, geez, this is something I'd like to do, write poetry. So this is a poem for Lawrence. My interest in poetry, like eggs and maybe snails, has a short shell life. Did you mean shelf? Damn it. And damn you, poetry. Damn it all to hell. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. Who do we have next? Yes, to close us out. The man, the myth, the legend, the man whose column, it's all poet, what I call poem column, it's all one thing, features on at oddballmagazine.com every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, already scheduled and ready to go on my end. Been a regular at Stone Soup for as long as he can remember, at least, and been a mainstay at the open mic for a great deal of my tenure, for which I'm very grateful. Let's welcome up Mr. James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So I've been translating this relative of mine who wrote autobiography about growing up in the mid-19th century in the Wieshuis, the orphanage at Haarlem, Holland. And his name is actually exactly the same as mine in Dutch, is Jacobus van Looy. And so anyway, this is a piece I wrote 22 years ago, the first time I ever went to Haarlem. And it's about sort of encountering this person who is a cousin of my great grandfather. Suboccupation. My big brother had told me that someone of my same name, Jacobus van Looy, was on display in the Frans Hals Museum. But the little oude man met armbos, the old man with alms box, taught me complete total surprise as I learned that the museum, which had been an orphanage for Jacobus van Looy, the impressionist Dutch painter who later became a writer about what it was like to grow up in an orphanage, which had once been the old man's almshouse of Haarlem, Holland, my grandfather's hometown. Oh, not so far after all from the shelter for homeless men in Boston's America, where I live and work all these long seeming years, suddenly quick. So that was the poem I wrote in 1998. And the amazing thing is that now I'm actually able to translate his autobiography. So I'm literally reading about his interactions with my great grandmother, okay, in this book. And it's truly an extraordinary experience, except it's so hard because sometimes I can't understand what's being said because his world, his 19th century world, is so distant now from where we live. And so some of the things I don't even understand the technology he's actually describing. But anyway, I'll sing you a little song to end this. Dream when you're feeling blue. Dream, that's the thing to do. Just watch the smoke rings rise in the air. You'll find your share of memories there. So dream when the day is through. dream and they might come true. Things are never as bad as they seem. So dream, dream, dream. And of course, Johnny Mercer made that famous. Thank you.
Muted, Chad.
I am muted again. God, someone's gonna have to just put like lip dubbing in here, like like the Japanese movies. I'm sure there's like a 20-minute compilation just based on all the videos I've done alone of that gaffe, that similar error. Okay, well now comes the much long-awaited moment where we introduce the feature, and he gets his 20 minutes of further fame as he promotes his book, appropriately titled 2020, which is available as on Kindle. And if you address him via his deal for tonight, you can actually get not just that book, but also an additional book of his from his vast library. The Timothy Gager Library is growing year by year, so catch up while you still can. I'll read the exciting boilerplate as such. Amazon's #1 best-selling author in 5 categories, Timothy Gager has published 16 books of fiction and poetry. His latest, 2020 Poems, is his 9th book of poetry. Timothy hosted the successful Dyer Literary Series in Cambridge, Massachusetts from 2001 to 2018, and has a virtual series starting in 2020. Timothy was the co-founder of the Somerville News Writers Festival. He has had over 600 works of fiction and poetry published, of which 17 have been nominated for the Pushcart Prize. His work also has been nominated for Massachusetts Book Award, the Best of the Web, the Best Small Fiction Anthology, and has been read on National Public Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, do your one-handed clap or virtual clap 20 to 30 times as I bring the speaker view to.
All right. Well, thanks, Chad. It's really, really great to see some people here I haven't seen in a while, like James and Carol. It's great to hear you. And Rachel's from my writing group, which is awesome that she showed. And so I'm going to read actually there. I've written a bunch of poems since 2020, so I'm going to open with a few of those. It's called Walk Until the Legs Go Numb. Socrates, the unexamined life isn't worth living, but the examined life makes you want to die. The light and stars will extinguish, but moonlight's only reflected on a stream. The footbridge curls over the sound of rush water thrusted over stones. You feel no longer a person holding a hand. Fingers become sand which runs through yours. Remember when I built a fire? I pushed logs on for your warmth, but cold feels everlasting, not like the smoky smell fading from your coat. Here's a poem about the greatest musician that no one's ever heard of, who passed away this month, Jones Purcell. At the farm in Elkton, Maryland. You will go down this dark road, not seeing the gaps in the barn plank, and the starry sky is layered Picasso as if it's seen in black and white. And every October the mice have decided to move inside. The smells of fireplace and smoked whiskey, old newspaper blanketed the sofa, the cover where the dog peed. Living room decorated in guitars, amps, and chords dancing over wood floors, creating Venn diagrammed dirt within circles. Glassfuls of bourbon will create songs. You yell, I'm not to go anywhere until we have 3 or 4 of them. Here's a pen. Write something to this. Vaccination extravaganza. At the circus, performing a one-pony trick, round and round center ring, horse and rider dazzled. At one point, she stood on her head, not using arms or legs for extra support. Oh, and she spun like a gyroscope. I checked my glasses to make sure I wasn't seeing things, because I can see everything. I made mountains out of molehills. Or As we know, we have choices and understand things even without therapy, molehills out of mountains, depending on the day. But logic is circular, and that's when she went horsebacking, revolving, witness riveting on their many times over painted seats. Will she fall? We watch. We can't watch her not, then applaud the ringmaster, waving his hyperbole so we can all breathe now. Inlet sunset. Row, you say, row. As the last pulls our rainbow droplets off at the oar, the sunset off Rehoboth Beach inflames the marsh's tall grass. It tints McKinley Square as we walk to the cove where Chuck, a name you call your father, an asshole you call your brother, as they are adrifting in the boat. Chuck working on the motor, agitated now. The engine is still. Chuck curses, smoking because the goddamn thing won't catch. They are pulled further out. They can't hear you say it, but they begin to row. Now I'm going to read from the book 2020. It is available on paperback, and I'm going to read different stuff than I did at my launch, but I will read a few poems, and I like to read this one. It's about my mom who passed away Christmas Day on 2019, and it's a poem I wrote with her when she was in hospice. Near leaves and light. Even the leaves were threatening, the orange ones especially. When she saw, she shivered, felt as if she could pluck the light from the branches. The noise deafening. Think about this. Think about this. Thoughts, more important than words. In those thoughts, God is very near. Then there was singing. Living with rabbits. A woman once decided to visit, thought it safe. I live with rabbits. Not preferring women, certainly not men either. I speak to the rabbits in quarantine, or no one else in the world. Today I sing them songs about what they're doing with their lives as they sleep and munch hay into mulch. And rabbits boast long back legs, quite strong. They leap forward great distances with a single push as they move quick, short bursts. Good for leaping into the air or forward over the ground. When out of their cages, I relate. Sometimes I do too. Shelter. Remember sunshine smacking away the ugly grays. In everyday ways, life is difficult. Even cotton sheets stubbornly refuse to soften hung on the line. We'll never confess we do not wash linen after someone stays over. The sun not given permission to bleach their lovers away, but a sky can turn yellow quickly. Then we shelter safe, wishing to turn tornadoes back into our nirvanas, only to hide behind the rakes standing upright in the basement. Social distancing in a town, population 10. And this is a poem about Centralia. It's a town that does have a population of 10, and it was evacuated by the government because there's coal burning under the town. It's been burning there for years and years, but 10 people refused to move. So this is called social distancing of a town, population 10. The highway is now covered in dirt, putting a halt to congregations, driving or gathering in Centralia to cease the morbid attraction, a burning desire for people to keep meeting in groups. It was a death sentence, the town a ghost, fire red hot underground, drove out the residents, a populous change from 10 heel diggers to graffiti artist tourists, large crowds to be dampered and safer to snuff them out. Another casualty of the virus, when forcing an June 10th, 1960 / June 10th, 2020. And, something happened June 10th, 2020, which helped evolve the Black Lives Matter movement. And on June 10th, 1960, there was an African-American man at a counter at a Woolworths, and he decided to walk up and sit at the counter where he was, quote unquote, not allowed. Life was simpler when gushed over a 1958 Norman Rockwell. A policeman consumes today's special. A boy runs away. Thank God he likes pie. The cops only corrupt for eating on the job. We've not moved much since another Rockwell in an incident in Arlington, Virginia lunch counter when a different portrait was painted. The runaway sitting was a diamond Dion roughly tainted spit at, cigarettes tossed at, shots fired outside. 60 years ago exactly, the picture unmoving. When we stand up in 2020, we still are sitting at the counter in 1960, only proving to be a metaphor in time, never serving a purpose, protesting the way things are, were, are. We are viewing Huskers with Blu-ray specs, gaslight blasts that cause our weeping. The individual at the lunch counter's last name was Rockwell as well. I probably should have said that. Meanwhile, in 2020, guesses from a stable genius. Supposing we hit the body with very powerful light, ultraviolet that hasn't been checked. Supposing you brought the light through the skin in some way. You're going to test it inside the body. Supposing there's a disinfectant that knocks it out in 1 minute. Something by injection, almost a cleaning. Supposing you see it get there, doing a number on the lungs. I'd be interested to check the way it goes after 1 minute. Supposing that's pretty powerful, the whole concept of the light. What an asshole. Anyway, holes. In the end, there are always holes. Why can't anything wrap up neatly? Approximately virtual, never fluvial, washed away rather than formed. Maybe the storm's surge is too strong, turbulent. Note, who was the builder? Who had stayed stagnant and why? The third choice wasn't considered. No need for rosin and lamp black once the dust had settled. We would again refuse discussion while I dreamed of lecturing anyone who will hear on the evidence of the consortium as a sinkhole opened a whirlpool under the place I stood, quick, afloat. For 1 second, I raised my arms. There's a poem called Kleptoparasitic. Going to heaven, tears held back, snared in hell, like a fly in a strip, stuck, a glue tape restrictive, morphine-like soaring into the Prozac, or skipping Prozac. The limbo of an insect's life is a human antonym, perhaps a hymn of yang and yin, stuck within magistry of dewdrops, web affixed, holding a place on earth. Unlike the pterodactyl, we beg to hold the dying. Unformed relief. I took 3 pills, but they were antibiotics. I saw my mother stare out vacantly from a hospital bed looking for St. Peter. I overeat, I undereat, I never eat. Any more suggestions? Treat yourself to self-care. Do something nice. Call your father, who won't remember losing his car keys. He doesn't remember looking for them for 2 days. We took them, hid them. Did we save a life? Ride the haze of Mercury, know where to go. We know where to go. Do you know where to go? Tell me where to go. Bon Iver on your birthday. Standing, felt harmony filling me like music fills earbuds, as if it were a matinee lasting until midnight. I nearly toppled down the aisle, floored by the moment, us reaching a ceiling. I'm still not over the wall we scratch at, the surface we pound with unannounced embraces, the synthesizers bursting through stage lights like leaves blasted golden by sun streams, the autumn's impetus hanging on us. These these are a group of love poems. So I don't mean to startle you after all my like heavy 2020 poems. Life's canvas. My heart was a red hibiscus the day it blossomed for you. A hibiscus like a kiss, the red of its lips turned like laughter when considering the Robert Burns painting, An Easy Road, the canvas with sunflowers parting like a church aisle. You walked with a bouquet of wildflowers plucked from the random splattering of acrylic. Forever, the Androzas Philosas, eyes beautiful pink. Long distance thinking. Loneliness was the handcuff. I wanted bright fireflies. Instead, on off, on off. I couldn't get off. The sofa stuck like glue. Bought an accordion to make loud bellowings. Gave up and left the large slinky, a toy, in the corner. My dog strays there when I'm not looking. His tail never wagged quite right, failing like a helicopter with a crooked rotor mast. Pull me up, please. So I paused. His pause. I'd lost my mind halfway through this ride, halfway through my existence, focusing, trying to picture other halves living. Unwritten rules of the situation. We don't say words of affection no matter what we goddamn love. Guidelines, rules, lines, emotive ties and unties. Outside, the trees added leaves, the months fell off. Now sunlight peeks through the bare branches. We miss with kisses, complete, incomplete, driving our hearts into large stakes, strong and solid. The chambers bind around them, gasping around puncture wounds, creating a seal. When life happens, there is remoteness, loss. We have no control. The powerlessness of a winter bolt of lightning blowing a transformer. Still, there's a spark inside the outlet. The switch turned on and off too quickly. New York confession. New York was hard to find. Only if I peeled the onion, I can pray for sleep to overtake a stumble into place and stumble out. Never saw what's in front of my face. Life's jugglers, clowns, the beat masters of three-card Monte. I won until the stakes got higher. In a city of nightmares, morning, afternoon, and night feel like different places. Unless troubled, they merged into one. I was awake through all, waiting for the city to let me go. Forced to sing myself to supper by climbing the highest mountains, the trees in the village. On 2nd Street and Avenue C, I was lost, even with obvious nomenclature of the corner, smack in the middle of the intersection. My arms stretched out, Jesus, 4 a.m., begging for crucifixion. Waking on Mount Greylock before sunrise. Yellow, orange, red streak words kiss our mouths have stars. The cold mountains tell us cope. Look up, crisp skies. Early breath evident. Lips tonight became entangled. Seriatim composing discourse of shadowed trees. Still are the evergreens. I'm going to do like 3 more. Rosebud winter. Late snowfalls on the Sangre de Cristo are confetti twirls in a tube. The sprinkle erupts, builds blankets of white, a frosting over emerald, never less green. Not everlasting than springtime's coming, when her flowers are tricked, buried too soon. They will now wait for water to trickle down from her peak. Wish me luck on this one. This one is all written as the name of energy drinks. And it's called On Energy Drinks. Deep breath. Venom Energy plus Mango. Red Bull Gourd a mistake. 5-hour energy if it takes Rockstar to party like the Who. What, where, a dude can drown a shark. Adrenaline shock. Energy that's not smart. Spelling it SHOC. Lost the K. If you want to push a train, climb a peak, seek Zions to gain that X, but lose the S. 3D, formerly UP, lost the U and the P. An amp by Mountain Dew by Pepsi is speed 2 without jug-swilling hillbilly that are gun silly measures of currents, which could SHOCK you. Monster, which is just that, but doesn't make you that, and is BAWLS a crying fuel or a bawling fuel? Maybe for multitasking, you're hoping it is the healthy drink. Zip Fizz, you mix in water, but stinks of Kool-Aid or funny face, goofy fucking grape. Now we're gaming speed, full throttle, reckless, sparks, nose, spikes, Starbucks, bang, shooter, redline, flatline, supreme, meth, cybersport, kill, cliff, Tropical Cool, Ignite, Down the Sambazon, Organic Amazon, Crack and Burn, the Martine Gel. Hell, it's only time for time to fly. Now you get to fly by time. Now you get time to fly in fly time. Time flies, fly there. There. And I'm going to finish with something a little less frantic. Ocean Hotel. Outside a window, the ocean laps over rocks, laps over rocks, laps over rocks. The foam is in the mixer, a quick plop resonates, followed by fierce violent smacks into rock wall, where a seagull sits over the sounds, almost staged, unmoved, a witness to this. The sun opens early today, 6 a.m., when my eyes do not catch much, eyelids inching up like the water rising outside a window. The ocean laps over rocks, laps over rocks, laps over rocks. Thank you very much for having me.
Unmute yourself and show them the love. Mr. Tim Gager.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah. Bravo, bravo, huzzah, huzzah. Author.
Very nice, Tim.
I was about to say, let everyone except Bill have a say now, because Bill, I don't know how anyone can steal the fucking applause, but he does. How do you steal the show? Tim stole the show, but Bill stole the applause. Dear Lord.
Everyone did such a great job reading tonight. There's just wonderful poems tonight.
Oh man. So once again, so the for the book, it's $15 and $2 shipping and handling. But if there's, God forbid, so those of us out there who do not have the full Tim Gager library, it's I think it's for, you said, for $20 for shipping and handling. You tell it, because I'm gonna screw it up.
All right, so it's the new book is $15 plus $2 for shipping. I try not to handle it too much. So, but for the any other additional book of mine that I've written, so the second book would be half price. So it'd be $15 for the first one, half price, whatever the half price is of the next one, and there'll be no shipping cost or handling costs. So that will be free shipping. And then anything after that is 25% of the price. So examples, say there's $15 book and the second book is 16, so that's 8, and the third book is 4, so it's 27 for 3 books. So the more you buy, the cheaper they all get. And you know what, would love to get rid of some of my stock. Authors always have stock.
This is true.
So if we bought 15, we could get everything for free, basically, the way that's going. It's
No, I think that the lowest we get is 25% of the cost. But if you want to buy all 16 of my books, there would be, 13 of them at 25% off, 75% off. It's like, it's like a tag sale at Marshall's.
And if you pay him $1 million, you'll get not only every single book he ever has or will do, you can also, have some rights to his authorship afterwards. That's over his kids too. So
And yeah, if you Venmo me $1 million, I'll be your cabana boy.
there you go, man. Boy, jeez. Oh my. Well, Tim, thank you very much for an amazing reading. I have the Kindle version. I just sent you the money myself for the 2020 poems book. I think I almost have every single book you've done since the absolute start, since the chapbook Same Corner of the Bar that was done by Ibbotson Street Press when it was just a little chapbook. So
I have an announcement about that. So Robin Stratton, my publisher at Big Table, is going to produce the Essential. It's like the Doug Holder. There was the Essential Doug Holder. She's going to do an essential version of me, which will cover poems back from the Same Corner of the Bar, which is 2001.
Yeah.
And, she's going to pick from each, and I'm going to have 30 new poems. So it's going to be a couple hundred pages. It's going to be pretty fun.
And you get to call yourself Essential.
And I get to actually edit old poems that I don't like anymore and create a little structure within them, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
See, I could suggest a different title. We could call it Selected Poems and New, but that's just me.
That's the subtitle.
Okay, all right.
And
I'd like to have it as the non-essential. I mean, nothing's all that essential. Like, it's like the essential roof over my head, or the essential food, or the essential air. I mean, the non-essential book is, that's okay.
Well, I could like put together a book of my rejects,
Yeah.
My forthcoming collection of the last 20 so years is going to be called The Optional Chad Parento.
Optional.
The very worst of John Wessick. I think that would be a great
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you guys have your instructions. You guys have your motivations to grab as many of these books as you can. And even if you do nothing else, if you have no room for your books, and believe me, my backspace, you can't tell right now because it's so neat, but if I were to pan the camera, it would look like carnage over here after a day of bombing in Sarajevo. But so I'm trying to parse down the books that I've read before, but I'm holding on to my poetry books as much as I can, and I'm there's always space for a Tim Gager book, but I know what it's like to have backstock.
Say, Chad, I hear that like if you had pet rabbits, they would probably eat some of those books for you. I'm just saying.
That I'll keep that in mind. But luckily, we have the Jamaica Plain Free Library system and other places, so I do want people to read these. But
librarians eat books.
During the rough months of the COVID, yes.
Okay, all right.
They live off of Sue Grafton and I can't think of the other, and Danielle Steele. Those are the.
Well, when they get to Z, then they're going to be pretty hungry, huh?
Yeah, did they even do a Z? I knew Sue Grafton went through the whole alphabet, but anyway.
I think she died. I was wondering what she was going to do for her 27th book, but I think she died before she got there. So
if I was Danielle Steele's publicist, I'd have a book called Daniel Steele This Book.
Co-written with Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you now have a writing prompt.
Excellent.
The only problem is you have to read Daniel Steele. But anyway, has anyone?
I'm still working on Snow White and the Seven Samurai, but whatever.
Oh my God. Well,
you don't think anybody would admit to that, do you? Reading those books. I mean, I'd take the fifth. I mean,
take the fifth.
I'm not gonna admit to reading it if I did,
Sometimes you have to. I knew someone who watched Sex and the City because, quote, you have to know the enemy. So
yeah, I see. Yeah,
and he had the DVD box sets too. But so I guess he got. I guess he got ensconced to the enemy pretty well. But no, I have not myself, but I just might to have Daniel Steele This Book be a title someday.
I like it. I do like it. Yeah.
I'm always honest about my guilty pleasures. Like, I've read some pretty trashy books, not Daniel Steele, but like Growing Up Brady, written by Greg Brady characters.
Yes.
And like, and especially my TV shows, like, 16 and Pregnant on MTV, man. I think I streamed that. I binge watched that. Like,
Tim, it's still recording.
it's okay. I freely admit all of it.
Oh my God.
Don't
Never
hate
be
me.
able to blackmail this man, that's for sure.
Very true. Well, without further ado, we will, and plus I know we had some connection issues, so there might be like a small pause, but I don't know if that became because it came up on my end or because it was a connection issue somewhere within Zoom itself. But there's like a 10-second gaff there, or at least there was for me in one of the poems. But the internet's been a little weird. Part of setting up Chad Parento headquarters involves getting better internet, hopefully over the next couple of the next week or so, and then hopefully get some decent lighting. I'm hoping someone leaves behind a halogen lamp when they move out later this spring, so I can actually get some appropriate stage lighting. But that's okay, even though the quality of the setting's a bit hack, the quality of the poetry was definitely not. Timothy, thank you so much for coming here tonight, and stay tuned for future announcements of Stone Soup Poets features coming up. I do admit I have to solidify the 17th date for one particular poet, but I can tell you that Jason Wright of Oddball Magazine fame and the Oddball Foundation fame is going to be featuring on the 24th, and he's debuting his brand new book, Train of Thought 2. And also on the 31st, the long-awaited return of Colleen Houlihan. Now, some of you don't know who she is, some of you do. Those who don't, Colleen Houlihan was a fixture in the 90s and early aughties of Stone Soup Poetry, a multiple feature, multiple interviewee by Doug Holder, and her work is also featured on my YouTube page. She and several others were a fixture of the poetry scene, especially Stone Soup and abroad, for many a year. And she has moved out and is currently living with her child. Very quiet life, and she has been looking to get back to see some old friends and read some old poems, hopefully some new ones. One of the best poets I ever saw come out of the scene, and one of the saddest. Her leaving was one of the saddest moments. So I'm going to be letting a lot more people know that she is back, or at least coming back for one night only. She made a quick appearance during last week's open mic, and it's going to be fantastic to have her again, at least in online form and spirit. And I highly recommend you come for that. And then hopefully we'll have some more April announcements. I had a wishful thought that we would be over this by May, but in good conscience, I can't bring people together and subject some of our older clientele to potential problems. We're not over the hump just yet, even though a lot of people in a lot of states and a lot of politicians are pretending we are. One of my girlfriend's colleagues actually has COVID in one of the schools, and that school has been partially open for a number of weeks, and it's kind of scaring me to see what's going to happen to her. But she just got her J&J vaccine tonight, so, and that means she doesn't have to do the double treatment. Damn it! Why couldn't it have been Pfizer and Pfizer, or Moderna? I got screwed out of this deal. But hopefully we will see the light, and hopefully we will have a celebration on May 1st, just like we did last year. And if we don't have the celebration now, we can always have it later. More announcements, more things coming, and I'll be working on the archives of like little Stone Soup surprises over the next few weeks as things come to fruition here in Chad Parento headquarters. And I go through 20 years of stuff, which includes a good number of years of Stone Soup stuff. So all I can say is stay tuned, watch for who's coming, and the better and best is yet to come. And once again, thanks again to Tim Gager. This is where we do the obligatory wave. I call it obligatory, but you can do what you like. But so thank you guys very much, and I'll wave and stop. Tim's too cool to wave, and I'm joking. But thank you all very, very much for coming tonight. Stay tuned for more news, and all I can say is the show's over. We see you next time.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys very much. Stay tuned for the video tomorrow.
Carol.
Thank you.